Hi. So glad to be back. This will be our last leadership nugget for the year. Um, First thing I want to talk about is the success of our conference, Beyond the Four Walls, last weekend. The turnout was amazing. Every instructor was amazing. The classes were amazing. I just had a blessed weekend. I believe that all of our guests did too. During the conference, we did do a survey during leadership class, and we discussed some of the different issues that some leaders and team members are having. And we were allowing everybody to list those things, those issues, things that they thought or saw as problems on different index cards so that they can do it without anyone knowing that they were the ones writing it. So it was totally anonymous. And then reviewing those note cards, I saw that majority of the problems fell under two categories. They were either structural issues or issues with communication. Like generally every problem stemmed from those things, which are both things that we learn how to deal with, how to manage at Spirit of Excellence. So I'll touch on some of them briefly. Some of the issues that stuck out to me that indicated the leaders specifically were that the members felt that the leaders were not knowledgeable. The leaders used intimidation as a method to lead. They were inconsistent in their leadership, indecisive in their leadership, and they lacked the ability to be trustworthy. Most of them, a lot of people listed that their leaders didn't understand what confidentiality was, which, of course, when I read it, what sticks out to me is I feel like somebody's gossiping. Whether it's the leader that's gossiping amongst other members or gossiping amongst other leaders, whatever the issue may be, for some reason, there's a lot of different team members that feel like their leaders are untrustworthy. When I looked at the problems or the issues that were related to the followers or the members on the team, pretty much all of them pointed to things like not the team members not being timely, not being dedicated, not being enthusiastic, not being invested or excited about the vision of the team, or just being committed in and of itself. And of course, when I reviewed the issues that were relating to the followers, to me, they still all point back to leadership. Because if I'm a follower, I'm not going to be enthusiastic about something that's not organized. I'm not going to be timely to something if you don't start on time, or I'm not going to be invested in something that has no direction. So what I would say to some of those issues are, as a leader, are you doing the things that you need to be doing in order for your followers to be timely, to be dedicated, to be invested and excited? I find it hard to believe that everything's in place and people want to do something, but they're not following through. I find that a little hard to believe. I believe that some people, they do find themselves in a place where they need deliverance, meaning they're holding you as a leader hostage to something that maybe a past leader put them through, or maybe something that a past leader engaged in. They can kind of hold you as their new leader accountable for those things. And so they still carry themselves from a place of running late, of being not dedicated, of carrying themselves nonchalantly, like they don't care about the team because of past hurts from different leaders. So I do understand and believe that those are true. But I believe that as a leader, if you continue to prove yourself, as one that is knowledgeable, as one that is consistent and trustworthy, decisive, you have direction, you have structure and order, I do believe that you can turn those things around. What I did promise was that on my next nugget, that we would discuss what to do when you are a leader who has offended. So we touched on some different things in my last nugget, just some different issues, and I really wanted to do a follow-up to that video to discuss what you do when you are a leader who has offended. There's a quote by John C. Maxwell that says leaders must be close enough to relate to others, but far enough ahead to motivate them. And that's not just in being knowledgeable in the craft. Like if you're a dance leader, that doesn't just mean stay ahead of them in the dance world. That means stay ahead of them and be an example in every realm that is a sphere of your influence. When it comes to being an offender or seeking forgiveness in something, you should be a leader in that aspect too. So what I would like to touch on really quick is some excuses. A lot of times we hear excuses, especially me, from different leaders. I hear people say things to their team members, or when I was a team member, I've just heard other leaders say this stuff, and it's just like, it always bugged me. I've heard leaders know that they've offended a team member or offended another person, and they'll say things like, well, that was out of character for me, as if that excuses it. Or if you knew me better, you know how I meant it. That doesn't count either. I've heard other people say, it's not you, it's just the pressure of ministry. And I think that's one of the worst excuses. If you're on a team and you're leading a ministry and you have people on that same ministry, then yes, the pressure or the weight may be different, but you're basically saying that it's okay that when you feel in a tough spot to walk around hurting people. That means that anybody that feels like they worked 8 hours and I had to stay over, or it was traffic today, because all of these things would be reasons for us to, as you say, act out of character or to go around hurting people because I'm going through something. If I treated people like I felt when I was going through things, I would be a very nasty individual. I'm not saying that everybody doesn't have times where they act out of impulse or speak quicker than they think. I'm not saying that people don't make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you live a lifestyle where everything is because of the pressure or the weight of the things that you're going through, then I would ask myself, am I ready to actually bear the weight of ministry? If the weight of ministry is causing me to hurt people, is it godly? Do you believe that God would give you something that's going to cause you to hurt his people? Do you believe that he will want you to continue to operate if the weight of what you're operating in is causing you to hurt people and you're doing nothing about it but making excuses? Do you honestly believe that if God is love, we say it all the time, God is love, God is this, God is that. We could speak of God's character and we say we're made in his image, but when is our character going to reflect his? At some point, we have to bring our character up to the highest esteem, like we esteem God in of himself, if we are made in his image, if we are supposed to be carrying ourselves Christ-like. From that point leads me to where you have to realize that as a leader, sometimes sorry is not enough. You can't just say sorry all the time. Sometimes you have to make sure that you go and make it right. One of the examples I always use when I'm talking to my children is that if I'm over a friend's house and I'm walking through their house and I knock over one of their vases or some piece of glass, little ornament decoration that they have, and I knock it over and it breaks. If that's the case and it's because I was being careless, then, oh, sorry, that might not be enough. Just as an adult, I would say sorry, and then I would turn around and try to figure out like if I can replace it. Parents, we've all been there where you bring your kid somewhere and they do something and you're like, oh Lord, I'm about to have to pay for that. And if that's our mentality in the natural, that should be our mentality in our realm of leadership. If you are a leader and you're walking around and you've hurt people that you're leading, especially like when I get things like the person who wrote on their card that their leader uses intimidation as a method to lead. If it comes to light that you have been operating in that manner, then just saying I'm sorry, or the blanket statements that I hate so much. I truly hate it with a passion when people will stand in front of a group of others and say, if I've ever hurt anybody in this room, That bothers me to the core. Like, if you want to irritate me on any day of the week, just say that, because it's gonna bother me. Because I believe that if you have stood up and you're saying with your mouth, if I've ever hurt anybody in this room, just please forgive me, charge it to my head and not to my heart. No, I believe that I believe strongly that you know that you've offended at least one person in that room, or you wouldn't be up making a blanket statement. That's not okay. You didn't blanketly hurt me. If you hurt me and you know that you've said something out of line or you spoke too soon, then don't get up and publicly say, if I've hurt anybody. No, say, I'm sorry, Shakara, because I hurt your feelings. I can tell I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry, Alicia, I hurt your feelings. That was mean. That was a little harsh. I jumped too soon. I didn't know. It's not okay. And I'm sorry. Is there anything that I can do? Or, because with my example with the vase, of course, something like that is easy to replace. If it's not expensive, it's easy to replace because it's something physical that I can go out and purchase, or I can reimburse you the amount that you pay. But when it's somebody's emotions, that's not something that your dollars are going to be able to fix. So then you may say, well, if that's the case, then how do I fix it? How you fix it is action plan. I always say, don't come to me with an apology if you don't have an action plan behind it. Meaning, when I'm saying, I'm sorry, Sarah, for hurting your feelings, then I need to have some action that's going to follow that, because that is what's going to let her know that I actually care, which is why I apologize, not just to save face. I actually apologize. I'm sorry, Sarah, for hurting your feelings. And in the future, I'm going to handle this issue like this, and this. Or, what would have made it better? How could I have communicated that to you better so it wouldn't offend you? Now, I'm not saying that you have to walk around babying people who may carry their feelings on their shoulder, but don't you walk around stabbing everybody in the heart and blaming it on the fact that their feelings are on their shoulder either. So I do believe strongly that if you are offending people, then you should apologize and do it directly and actually mean it. Be genuine. I always tell people that I'm not the type of person that just lets sorry fall out of my mouth. I won't apologize just to be apologizing. My husband will be the first one to testify to that fact. My apologies are far and wide. Why is that? Is that because I never have anything to apologize for? No, but I do believe that if I'm going to say sorry, I'm going to definitely mean it. It's going to be of value and it's going to be genuine. I believe that if I have hurt you, and because you come to me and say that, if I just say it out of I want to make peace, if I just say it because I want to make peace, or because I want to save face, or because you came to me and approached me about an issue in front of people, so I'm actually showing off with my sorry, and I'm like, oh no, sorry sis, if I really don't mean it, then I'm probably going to offend you again. However, if I take that and I say, well, give me a moment or give me a minute, and I can go back and actually analyze my actions, analyze my words, and say, you know what, I do see where she's coming from, whereas I could have said that or done that differently. If I go home and I do that, then I can actually make a phone call or actually see her again in person and have a sincere apology, not just a sorry, because I can actually say, I empathize with you because I see now how I hurt you, and that was wrong of me, and in the future I'm going to do this to avoid us getting to this place again. Is something else that you feel that I could have done so that I can get her perspective on the situation, actually genuinely apologize so that we can then make amends and move on. But if we're just letting sorry fall out of our mouth like it's any other common word, then it loses value. Just like the word love. If you go around throwing out the word love, then eventually it loses value. I can say I throw it loosely with people that I know for 100% fact that they know I love them. So I can say it more loosely. But if I'm just like, oh, love you, love you, love you, love you, then it doesn't really hold that much value. Why do you think in all of the love movies, I was even watching Transformers the other day with my husband, and it's not a love movie, but in that movie, the boy, I forget his name, he was saying goodbye to his girlfriend because he was going to college, and she wanted him to tell her that he loved her, but he didn't want to say it because he wanted to string her along. Why can't you do that with the word love? It's because it holds value. Everybody that's in a dating situation, you're waiting for that first time because it holds value when somebody says, I love you, because it holds that much value. It has that much weight to it. But if you use it so loosely, whereas you love everybody, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't all love each other in Christ or that it's not ordained that we do that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying those, because the same way you tell your children that you love them, you don't tell everybody in that same manner from that same position. So we can be real about the fact and say that maybe love isn't a word that we necessarily should throw around so loosely, because if we actually wait and give things time and we actually put love out there when we are in a sincere place to say it, then it will mean more. It will feel better to the people that we're saying we love. I love you too. Because now I've gotten to a place where some words kind of offend me. And, I've really been seeking God as to why does this sit with me this way? Why does this make me feel this way when I hear it? And one of the phrases that's recently bothered me a little is when I hear people in the church or in Christian world just walking around, they just throw around loosely, love you with the love of Christ. And I'm like, I don't know. Like now that doesn't, I've heard it forever growing up, but now it just doesn't sit that well with me. I feel like, what does that really mean? I love you with the love of Christ. Is that like are you meaning it as that's the bare minimum? So that's how much you love me, just enough to count. Or do you actually mean, because when I think of the love of Christ, I think of somebody who died for me, who went to the cross for me. So you're saying you love me that much? Or is it you're saying that it's ordained that you love me? You have to love me. The Bible tells you to love me. God wants you to love me. And so you love me in that aspect, which is the bare minimum. So to me, it's just one of those things that I'm just like, what does that really mean? I need clarity. So if you have clarity on what that really means, please email me. I will not be offended, because when someone says, I love you with the love of Christ, it kind of leaves too much room. I don't know what that means. And typically the people that I hear saying it are people that are just throwing it out there loosely. Those type of people that are travel far and wide to support a stranger, but won't support you and you're their brother and sister in Christ. Those are the people that I hear saying, I love you with the love of Christ. Because to me, love and support go hand in hand. So you want to make sure that you're not overlooking who God is using just because they're common, just because they're close, just because you feel like you know them, like you have a handle on all that God would give them, so you don't need to receive from them. Those are kind of the people that I hear using the terms, I love you with the love of Christ, or I'm here for you, and they're never there, nowhere to be found. Those are the people that I hear saying, I love you with the love of Christ. One thing that I found that has been the most helpful is having accountability and having checks and balances in place. Though that has been one of the biggest things that has helped me along the way, and that I always say, make sure that you have a circle. It doesn't have to be a huge circle. It just needs to be a circle. As leaders, sometimes whether you're a leader and you're a pastor, or whether you're a leader over a team, or you just are a person with leadership ability, they always say it's lonely at the top. And I don't believe that it has to be because that mentality of getting to the top by climbing on everybody, that's a worldly mentality that shouldn't be found in the church, or in Christ, or in Christian, even in Christian business. We shouldn't be such competitors to the extent that we are climbing on top of everybody to get to the top, because if that's the case, then it is going to be lonely at the top. But what I do believe is that we should have accountability and checks and balances in place. What I mean by that is I've been speaking to a lot of different leaders recently that have gotten to where they kind of feel like, well, I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have anybody to talk to that understands me, or I'm going through X, Y, and Z. I've been kind of suffering alone. And to that, I say, you have to get to a place where you have built a circle that are that is filled with people that are like-minded, with like mantles, somebody that can speak into your life, not only the prophetic, but somebody that can speak to you in from a practical standpoint. If you're going through things with your team, you can't talk to your team members about it. How are you going to talk to your team members about issues that you're having with them? You need to be able to speak to another leader, somebody that can say, you know what, I need to talk to other leaders, that can say, Shakara, maybe you need to handle things this way. Maybe you need to do this. Or I hear your struggle. I hear you telling me about the issues that you're having, but maybe it's because of the fact that you're an untrustworthy leader. Maybe you need to have some more structure. Maybe you're saying this, that, and the other, but I've been to your studio and I see X, Y, and Z. Somebody that can honestly be real with you. Somebody that can say, listen, I'm here for you. You can talk to me, but this is what you need to do, X, Y, and Z. And yes, I'm praying for you, but in the natural, you need to do this, that, and the other. Or in the natural, I sense you speaking from a place where you're burnt out. I see that you're overstretched. You're doing too much, or you're not doing enough. Somebody that can be honest with you, look you square in the eyes and say, listen, you need to make some changes, or you need to do this, that, and the other. You need somebody that can speak to you on that level. In my opinion, you'll never get unbiased advice from somebody that is submitting themselves unto you. You can't go to somebody who's constant on your team, who want your approval, and ask them to give you a survey. I can't go survey my students, but stand over them while they survey me. They're going to be like, well, I don't want her to think that I think anything, so let me just mark excellent on everything. No, I will rather do a blind survey. I'd rather get them a survey and leave and let them know, you know what, you can type it, you can click, so that way I don't know your handwriting, because my students are to the extent I know all their handwriting, so it probably wouldn't work, even a blind survey that was written. So I would have to be creative if I wanted honest feedback from them. It's really hard to get honest feedback from someone who is submitting themselves unto you. You need to go to a place where you don't have leverage, where you do have influence because you have pure respect, but you are talking to someone who is either equal to your position or superior to your position. That's why do you think people go to their pastors for counseling, or they seek out somebody higher up? Because if you're talking to someone that's at a lower stance than you, or in a lower position than you, just in hierarchy, if you're speaking to someone in a lower position than you, they can't understand what you're really dealing with. So in order to have those checks and balances, you need to make sure that you have a circle, an adequate circle that can help you and meet you where you are. You need to have somebody that's not going to always speak friendly words to you. I have a business partner, and I believe that if I was totally out of line or totally straight up slacking, I believe that she would tap me on the shoulder and tell me. I believe that firmly. If I didn't, then I would make sure that I could add more people to my inner circle. My inner circle is not big. I will be honest, it's not big, and I don't believe that you have to have a huge one. But I do believe that we shouldn't get to the place where we're suffering alone because we have nobody to confide in. Nobody should be that lonely. It's not even biblical. You show me in the Bible where it's biblical for a leader to just stand alone, have no accountability, have no checks and balances, have no one to confide in, only rely on Jesus and Jesus alone. Because sometimes you need somebody to tap you on the shoulder and say, you think you're in tune with God, but you're not even all the way in tune with God. And this is how I know, because your fruit is tainted. This is that. You need somebody that can call you even on your relationship, if need be. You need somebody that can even speak to you on that level. So my challenge is for us to make sure that we're structured, make sure that we're communicating, make sure that if we're having issues with people, that we're taking care of them properly. Know that sorry is not always enough. Making sure that we're not using excuses, that we're holding ourselves accountable, and that our circle is full of people that can help us. The Bible says in Proverbs 18:2, a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but in only expressing his opinion. And none of us want to be that fool that is walking around so busy about arguing our point that we can't see ourselves and we can't see the truth. If that's the case, then that's when our close friend, our close business partner, someone we're in kingdom relationship with, can tap us on the shoulder and actually let us know that what we think is that is not that, or what we think is truth is not truth. It's just our perception. We need somebody that can speak to us in that place. Being able to vent to the right people will help you avoid meltdown. And public meltdown or ministry meltdown is not cute. Ministry meltdown will lead you to being embarrassed, to lead you to feeling ostracized, lead you to feeling like you're outside of the circle of what God is doing. Nobody wants to have ministry meltdown. So I believe that you need to make sure that you're building yourself up and that you're building your circle up with people that will build you up so that you can be the best that you can be and lead the strong lead in the strongest manner that you can lead, because we all have kingdom responsibility. And if God is giving you an area of influence where you are a leader, then it's your responsibility to make sure that you're not only leading, but that you're doing it in excellence. Our school is doing open enrollment right now for our 2017 school year. You can go to www.soeai.com. I'll put the link in the comments. If you register by November 12th, you'll get half off the first month's tuition with paid registration. So I encourage you to do that so that you can take not only the leadership course, but the dance technique course at Spirit of Excellence. If you want more information, it's all spelled out on the website. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment or email us with those questions or concerns. You can go right to our website. Again, our website is www.soeai.com. Thank you.